Another example of Old Testament symbology that was foretelling how things would be once the Messiah came is found in Exodus chapter number 25, verse number 8. Here God gave Moses the law, and then he gave Moses a plan for the tabernacle, which was the place of worship for the children of Israel in the Old Testament. Here's what he said, verse 8, "And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them according to all that I show thee," watch this, "after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make it." Notice that God is putting great emphasis on make sure you do it according to the pattern, because this is going to represent something that's going to have eternal significance. So he emphasized it. Make sure you do everything after the pattern. And so Moses did. The exact measurements, the exact materials to be used, everything had to be made exactly as God instructed, because it all had symbolic significance. Now here you see a picture of the exterior of the tabernacle plan. On the outside there was a fence. Within the fence, in what was called the outer court, were two pieces of furniture. A brazen altar, that's where the sacrifice was made, and the brazen laver, that's where the priest washed, so that they would be clean when they went into the holy place. Now, under the tent, there were two rooms. The first room was the holy place. The second room, which is half the size of the first room, was the holiest of holies. And that's where the Ark of the Covenant resided, which contained the pot of manna, Aaron's rod that budded, and the 10 Commandments. That's where the glory of God was, and that's where the mercy seat was. So that was the tabernacle plan that God gave them. Every single faction of that tabernacle plan has significance to you and me and our walk with Jesus Christ today. Now here's another look at the layout so you can actually see inside. Notice that the blood was shed on the brazen altar. The water was at the brazen laver. Now remember, already we've had an example of this way back in Egypt. Now God's going to teach it to us another way, because he wants to make sure we get it. Back in Egypt, you had blood, then you had water, then you had spirit. Now you get to the tabernacle plan, and you've got it all over again. Here you are. The first thing you do is shed the blood. Then comes the water. And then you go back and light the candlestick. And that's where the Holy Ghost and fire. The Bible teaches that the oil is a type of the Holy Ghost. There's one coming after me, John said, who's mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to unloose. And he will baptize you with the Holy Ghost and with fire. Now that's not the only piece of furniture that was in the holy place, however. There were two other pieces of furniture. One was the altar of incense. One was the table of showbread. Because when the woman at the well said, "Now then, the big religious argument of our day is where you should worship." Because the kingdom was divided. There was one capital of Judah down in Jerusalem. There was another capital of Israel in Samaria. And so the king of Samaria said, "We should worship up here in the mountain of Samaria." And the king of Judah said, "We should worship in Jerusalem." And so that was the big argument of the day. The woman at the well, when she realized that Jesus was a prophet, she said, "I've been looking for someone to ask this question. Where should we worship? In this mountain or in Jerusalem?" And Jesus said, "The time shall come, and now is, when it won't matter whether you worship in this mountain or down on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. That's not the issue. But the time has come, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth." So the incense was a type of the spirit. The table of showbread was a type of the truth. So we had three things here. First of all, you receive the Holy Ghost. And then you walk in the Spirit, and your guides are Spirit and truth. Everything you and I ever know about Jesus Christ, we will learn through the Spirit and through the truth. Some people have head knowledge only. They approach God from a truth-only basis. and they never get there. I know people that can quote the Bible like a blue streak, and they are so confused they don't even know what they're doing. And I know other people who are very spiritual. They pray and they're spiritual and so on, but they're as wacko as they can be. I mean, they're doing crazy stuff. You know why? Because they don't have the balance of spirit and truth. You can't have a diet of all liquids. You can't have a diet of all solids. It takes both of those things to support physical life. It takes both of those things to support spiritual life. And isn't it great that God went to the trouble before the Messiah ever came to give us object lessons so we could get insight into what this is really all about?